Nice to see you again.
Yeah, it's great being here again. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, it's always a pleasure, a privilege to watch you work. I love watching craftsmen work because I don't have the skills that you've got, and listening to people talk about their what they do and how they do it, and watching them is just absolutely amazing. How are you anyway? Have you had a good? I was going to say, have you had a good COVID? But that's probably not a great question.
Well, we'll be digging deeper into that, Tony, as my presentation continues. But funnily enough, I have, and it's being blind and relying on others for transportation a lot of the time, getting out and about, and being housebound. Not indefinitely, but a lot of the time. It wasn't a big thing for me, really. But there have been a couple of instances during the pandemic and our recent move from the northwest into the Derbyshire countryside where I have experienced some periods of slight anxiety. So again, I'll be sharing all of my thoughts and experiences regarding lockdown and mental illness with the viewers on this portion. But so, you know me, no hold barred. I'll be talking the truth and be quite open and honest about everything.
That's been a northerner for you, isn't it?
Aye, it is. Well, actually, me being from Salford and Eccles, it's more, it is our kid.
Yeah, well, I'm from Southport originally, so I'm not saying out. People suggest that I should have a Scouse accent, but I don't. My accent's all over the place. Right, what are you going to show us this afternoon, Chris?
Well, I've got a blank here, a sycamore blank on the lathe, and this is the same lathe as what Colwyn used this morning in his demonstration. It's Axminster AT406, so it's a very capable machine, and I will be starting to rough out the shape of a bowl, and again talking through the techniques and the things I do differently and the things that I have to do to be able to turn with no vision. So it's going to be the start of shaping a sycamore bowl and how I position the size of the mortise and the foot on the bottom and then shaping using a bowl gouge. So a little bit of turning and hopefully a little bit of talking.
That's all right. Should we start?
We can get right into the phone, yes.
Okay. Right. I don't know how we start this.
Well,
Probably a switch on the front of your machine, probably.
Yes, I've got a remote control here.
Oh.
So I am going to go. That's one of the things I love about the Axminster lathe. It has that lovely chunky remote control. I can move it right next to me. So muscle memory comes into play, and I can just hit the stop button or the speed button. A lot of lathes do have the touchpad system, and I have used them, and it was just chaotic. I kept hitting the same button for on and off all the time. There is no sensory or tactile way for me to distinguish what's on and off and things like that. So I do love that chunky tactile remote control. So I spent literally 15 minutes earlier on just getting this true. So the first thing that I'm going to do here, Tony, is it's a thing that I invented and then it was co-developed with Axminster Tools and Machinery called the Speed Sizer. So for all of Axminster popular jaw sizes for their chucks, they're all predetermined and pre-drilled on this. So I can use this now I put little tactile stickers on this because I can't read the lettering or the numbers. So this is going to help me mark precisely the size of my mortise for this particular bowl. So just holding it in center there quite loosely. I know by touch now that I'm going to need this particular hole, which is the hole for C jaws in expansion mode. So a sighted woodturner would use a pencil, but I use a scratch awl as a tactile reference. So I just give that a quick spin. So that's scored in there now a circle that I can feel with this scratch awl. Whereas, like I say, a sighted turner would use a pencil. So I know that that is perfectly sized now for the jaws that I will be using when I come to reverse mount this. My particular version of this lathe, it has the bed extension, and that's mounted permanently to the end, so I can remove my tailstock and just leave that out of the way to give me more room. So as I am turning now, I'm just going to feel for where that score line is, and using my parting tool, I'm going to give myself a tactile reference point. Let the speed come up, just gently kissing, and then with muscle memory, I'm just going to position the groove, and then come to the left hand side a little bit. And then just by touch and memory, I'm going to spin that around now for you. Again, these lathes have a tilting headstock. So if you can see now, I've got the position of my foot, and then there's a tactile line there where I will remove this inner portion, and that's giving me my mortise then. And then I will hold this piece in expansion mode. So the great thing about this lathe, obviously with the twisting headstock, is I can angle it towards me and be more comfortable, and I'm not leaning over, potentially getting anything trapped in moving parts. So, right, let's talk about what lockdown meant to me. So, as you all know, guys, I went completely blind October 2008 and went very quickly blind in just a period of 4 weeks. So that brought along with it a world of fascination, a world of challenges, a world of loneliness, anger, and a year after going blind, a whole load of anxiety-based, debilitating side effects. So these were manifested in various ways. One was interesting, the hallucinations, and I found that really interesting. And I'd see the tap running on the kitchen sink, or I'd see cutlery and crockery strewn around, or if I was in the garden, I'd see birds flying, and I'd be ducking and things like that. So they weren't that really scary in that way. It's the other side effects that I found really, really difficult to deal with. So as I'm talking now, I'm going to start shaping this bowl. So the other side effects, now I'm just letting the speed come up and start shaping this around. Put that in a bit more. So the other side effects were panic attacks, muscle spasms, insomnia, hot flushes, not just feeling sick, but actually being sick. And as it progressed over the course of a year or two, suicidal thoughts, because it was just so much to deal with. I was beginning to think of a way to possibly stop feeling this way. And luckily, I chose not to go through and complete those really dark thoughts, because, I was, surrounded by a great family and a young son at the time. So I didn't have that luxury even though I do say, and I do mean it 100%, if I was on my own, I would have ended my life. No two ways about it. I was off about it. So glad I didn't. So, with lockdown and the pandemic, I am sure that a lot of people who are suffering with depression or anxiety are, facing challenges maybe on a day-to-day basis, maybe spread out, but certainly challenges with their mental health, and they don't know what to do when they feel isolated and alone, and there's a whole plethora of different feelings that people can be going through. So, like I said before, me being blind and somewhat reliant on others, and for great periods housebound, unless it was waiting for my support worker to turn up and things like that. Lockdown was very, very similar to that. When lockdown and the pandemic really took hold, it was like, meh, I've been living this already for, so many years. I didn't really seem to, I wondered what the fuss was all about. But I appreciate that lots and lots of other people can be certainly shut off quickly from loved ones and activities and places they used to go and going to work. It's a big thing to deal with. So I was dealing with it okay, and then we've been sort of like going through a house move, and our house was up for sale, and it took a bit longer. The first people that bought the house had to opt out because of the pandemic, and again that didn't faze me. Eventually we sold the property, and we got our moving date was last October. So rather than rent a single property, we decided to rent different holiday lets. We just thought it'd be easier than having to get a rental property and get the council tax and get everything set up. So we decided to rent 4 different properties. So I'm just coming in now closer to this foot. Just going some room there to continue to shape this. Always listen to what the tool's doing. Just feel to what's going on. And then stop, start, feel is my way. And when I've got this removed, I'll spin it around and let you guys see. But yeah, we moved anyway, and we were going from holiday let to holiday let. And again, things were going fine, but I did realise that I was beginning to have some periods of anxiety again. Now, not as serious as what I used to get, certainly nothing like that. I've had counselling, and I do take anti-anxiety medication. Escitalopram is what I take. So I was having some periods of contemplation, and that's what happens with me now when I'm getting anxious. I feel yeah.
I was going to say one of the problems must have been if you were moving from property to property is it must take you a little bit of time to adjust to the space, like finding the loo, finding the bits that you need every day and everything. Where are the stairs? How many stairs are there, and all the rest of it. That must be I'm not sure how I'd cope with that. You have my admiration.
Yeah, it does take a certain degree of reprogramming every time you move into a new environment. And this is one of the areas where I do get anxiety going to a place I'm not familiar with. I don't know it, and I also suffer with irritable bowel syndrome, and I can need the toilet.
Yeah, that must be extremely frightening.
So to be blind and need the toilet, you know, when you're out and about and not know where it is, you know, again, you start getting worked up even more. So
yes,
we'll leave the toilet talk just to
we brought it down to a bottom level. We can go back up again now.
Now the only way is up. So yeah, going from property to property in such, you know, quick amount of time, we still maintain it worked out best for us, and it was the way we did it, and yeah, with hindsight, it was the best way to do it for us. But you know, there were occasions where I was beginning to feel a bit unwell, and these weren't long periods. It might only be for, you know, half an hour on a day, or you know, I might have felt a bit unwell for a whole day, and maybe been a bit off my food. But yeah, it certainly takes a lot of mental reprogramming to learn where the stairs are, where the kitchen is, you know, all the sort of stuff, and to do it 4 times in the space of a few months was mentally demanding. And
so you sold your house and then went looking for somewhere new, or did you?
No, we'd already bought the new place. Sorry.
All right.
So we're in the Derbyshire Dales. We're in the Peak District, and it's a place we'd always wanted. Well, not always. Nicola had always wanted to move here, and after having some short holidays here with Nicola, we'd said, you know, we'd love to come and live in the Derbyshire countryside. So our old property, you know, that was paid for. Charlie, our son's grown up, left college, so there was nothing stopping us.
No.
So after sort of like shopping around and considering period properties and other options, we were actually in a brand new build in a village called Blind Woodturner. So we're about 5 minutes away from Carsington Water in the Derbyshire Dales, and 20 minutes out of Ashbourne. So you come out of, you come into Ashbourne if you've come from Buxton, drive through Ashbourne and then come out the other side back into the countryside, 20 minutes and you're into Blind Woodturner. So lovely place, brand new house. So yeah, it was those transitional moves waiting for this place to be finished.
Yeah.
Which is where we were renting.
And of course, in COVID, is the ideal excuse for the builder to say, sorry, I'm not ready yet. And several times.
Yeah, but you know, they were saying no buildings going ahead, and the pandemic hadn't affected it. So we were waiting for this place to finish, and just put the face shield down, and then we were settling into our sort of like final property. It isn't that far; it's just down the road from here, and we stayed on a working farm for 8 weeks in the cottage on there. So every time I do stop the lathe, I have to find my datum and pick it up. So yeah, those periods of anxiety told it, they were certainly there and evident, but again, it's a case of having to dig deep and give yourself a metaphorical virtual slap around the face. And I remember saying to myself, come on, Chris, you've got this. You've been through far worse than this. You know, there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing can hurt you. And, you know, Nicola's there. She's looking after you. You're doing fine. So I have to keep giving myself a reality check, a reality smack round the face. You know, to say, come on, you've got this. Nothing's going to happen. You're moving into a beautiful house in the countryside. What's going to happen? But that you know, when people say, oh, the mentally ill, we just need to snap out of it. We would if we could.
That's absolute, I can't use that word. Rubbish.
We would if we could. Just snap out of it. And
but it's absolute rubbish. You can't. I've been suffering from depression for over 25, 30 years, and it comes and goes. But you can't snap out of it. You've got to work your way through it, and people around you help. You've got your Nicola. I've got my Nicola.
We'd snap out of it if we could. We don't want to live this way. We don't want to feel this way.
Definitely not.
Terrible, and you know. So like to summarise the part that I'm up to now, it's a case of, yeah, lockdown in itself wasn't causing anxiety. It was the moves that we were having during lockdown. So my lockdown was different to maybe what a lot of people were experiencing. Sure, lots of people were moving house or trying to move house during the pandemic and the lockdown. But things were certainly delayed. But I didn't have any, concerns or anxiety concerning the house move per se from a legal standpoint. That's out of our control. Solicitors and whatnot. What will be will be. So
they're in a world of their own.
They are. But luckily things are going all right. Just beginning to shake this around more. I can feel quite a few inclusions in this actually, Tony, and little bits of character. I can tell by the sound on the tool.
Yeah.
So
the vibration in the tool as well.
What's that? Sorry.
The vibration in the tool as well tells you when you're coming across something like that. Did you get things done to the house when as it was a new build to help you? Like the workshop is that a garage or is that a proper workshop?
No, this is a full size single garage.
Sorry. Can we have a quick definition of the word full size garage these days?
Yeah, you would get a very big, just one very big car in here.
That's right. My house was built in the 70s, and a garage that built then will not work for a car these days.
No, you'd get a big car. In fact, a couple of our neighbours have got Audi SUVs.
All right.
A guy next door but one, he's got an Audi SUV, and that will fit in. As far as the workshop goes, obviously it was completely empty. All my stuff had come out of storage. And luckily there is Howden's Joinery, who are a huge nationwide company.
Yeah.
They've got a branch in Ashbourne, and we went in there pricing up cabinets because I knew I needed lots of cabinets in here to get everything stowed away, a place for everything in its place. Yeah. So we had a chat with the team there, and luckily we had a chat with Mark, the branch manager. Now he said, not being funny, but what does a blind guy need workshop cabinets for? So there's the catalyst for the story.
Yeah.
And so we explained our story, and we had every intention of buying these cabinets. We don't work that way, going out wanting help and handouts. And he said, you know what? He says each branch is allowed to allocate about £2,000 to a local charity or worthy cause every year. And he said, and I'm going to push for you, because he found out, what I was doing. He knew that I had some disabled students and thought it was, absolutely brilliant what I was doing. So thanks to Howden's, I've got £2,000 worth of cabinets in the workshop here. Wall units, base units, solid resin countertop, and they pre-assembled it also. All me and my son had to do, Charlie, was screw it all together and put the doors on and put the shelves in, and pretty much good to go. So that was absolutely great. So I'm in here, full size single garage, but I keep getting told I'm not to call it a workshop anymore. The gallery in Ashbourne where my work is exhibited, another story for another time. He said, oh no, you've got to start calling it a studio now, because he said, I don't have studio artists in here. I can't do it, Tony. I'm just going to get something at the workshop, Nicola, and just no studio. When we're in the gallery taking a piece for him to exhibit and sell, I've had fun in the workshop. Damn it, studio.
Well, the other one, of course, is the local authority will want to put your rates up if you call it a workshop rather than a garage. So
this is it. So it's a garage.
The studio would be less happy if you called it a garage, I suspect.
Yeah, so I'll just spin this around now and let you guys see how this. I mean, you should be able to see the profile just coming there.
Yeah.
So it's again. I'll remove this.
So you to fit your chuck, so the chuck opens out into that space. Yes.
Yeah. So you can use either obviously tenon or a spigot or a mortise in expansion mode. So you know what I'm doing in the piece. How it's evolving and what I want to do, you know, I'll use a mixture of the two. So yeah, I'm doing all right as far as my mental state goes. We're entering some sort of like really busy time at the minute, so we've got a lot going on. And I said to Nicola this morning, I'm not feeling unwell, but I've got that much going on and about to go on. I feel a bit overwhelmed with what's going on. So I don't know if any of the listeners today are feeling overwhelmed. Let's use that word, with what's going on. You know, and
can I join that crowd, please?
Yeah. So yeah, I think sometimes it's Nicola uses the word sometimes. She'll say, you know, I'm just a bit overwhelmed, and that's how I feel sometimes at the minute. Not ill or anxious, a bit overwhelmed. So I think it's a culmination, and of course I think about, you know, the pandemic and COVID and things like that. But I'm trying really to keep that, you know, as far away from my thoughts as I can.
Yeah.
You know,
we've just got to get on with life, I think.
Yeah, touch wood. We haven't been ill with it. I've been tested quite a few times recently. We're doing some television work, and I've got some more filming happening this July. And I'll be tested again because the production companies insist on daily tests at the start of filming. So, yeah, touch wood, you know, I've not had anything, no symptoms, always had a negative test. And, you know, I'm taking, you know, multivitamins and vitamin D and all this sort of stuff on a daily basis. So, yeah, at the minute, I'm feeling okay.
I'm glad of that.
Yeah, just a little overwhelmed. But for anybody that is a member of UK Men's Sheds and they are still finding it, you know, a tough road to hoe mentally, you must, and we can't stress this enough, get in touch. And even if your shed is still on limited opening hours, well, hopefully that's coming to an end very soon. You know, I'm sure there's someone that you can confide in and talk to. You don't have to do it on your own. You know, it's so important that you start offloading what you're experiencing and feeling as quickly as you can. And, you know, I know a lot of the doctor's surgeries, you know, are dealing with, you know, extra work and things like that. So if you can't always get into have a chat with your doctor, there's got to be a friend somewhere, and very soon there's got to be, you know, a men's shed that you can start going back to and, you know, chatting with mates. You know, it's so important that you keep, you know, focused on the good things in life, like getting back to making things, getting back to having a brew with your pal, and, you know, sharing, you know, your thoughts and concerns you've got. It's paramount. You know, UK Men's Sheds, you know, is doing an absolutely amazing job at addressing these problems in such an approachable and accessible way. You know, and I'll testify how great it is to get in your workshop, shed, garage, studio, whatever you've got, and get in the zone and forget about everything else that's going on. And that, at the moment, for a lot of people, is the pandemic. I don't want to catch it. I don't want to catch it. I don't want to catch it. You know, so you get in your workshop, your workspace, and get back into the men's sheds. When you're working with steel, or, you know, if you're doing benchtop joinery or turning or whatever you're doing, and you're really in the moment with that project or that piece of art, you don't think about anything else, and I'm sure we can all agree that that is true. When you're in the moment and you're doing what you love, you're involved in activities that involve, a social network and friends, and as someone that can listen, you forget about everything else. So it's one of the most important things to, if you are beginning to feel depressed or anxious or sad, lonely, recognize those signs and take action as quick as you can, and it's really important. So yeah,
I can't speak for other sheds, but I know that in our case we have a telephone number, we have a Zoom call. I have a Zoom conference open 10 o'clock every day of the week, except weekends, and I sit and chat with whoever comes on. And I have a few widowers who are really quite lonely because they're on their own. And it's just being able to talk, and we talk about rubbish most of the time. Yeah. Well, I talk rubbish as a hobby. It's if they ever make it an Olympic sport, I'm in. That and rambling and heckling, I'm told I'm up for a medal.
But it's great medicine, isn't it? It is.
Yeah.
Medicine.
Talking. Yes.
It is. I'm talking and laughing, and I say to people, find time to act silly every day. And of course, that doesn't mean go and play chicken on the local motorway. It means, crack a few jokes, have a bit of factory talk if you need to. Pull a funny face. See what's wrong with that? And I'm sure, lots of people have got lots and lots of different coping mechanisms. There's a word or a phrase, coping mechanism. I have lots. I have music. I have audiobooks. Of course, I have woodturning. I have Bamba McGuire. I have Nicola and Charlie. These are all great coping mechanisms. And
but it's people that are important.
Yeah, people are so important, and people you can rely on, and you'll know who they are. You'll know who those people are that you can rely on and cultivate. Like I just said, you have your Zoom meetings. I can't find the superlative at the minute to express how important it is to keep that connection with someone you know and trust. So please, if you are still feeling anxious or depressed because of lockdown, it's not going to be forever, this, folks. I'm certain of that. And if people choose when July the 19th come down, if people want to wear a mask, not getting political or anything, but if people want to choose to wear a mask permanently and that makes them happy, you do that. Things that don't make you happy, stop doing. Things that make you happy and comfortable and help you feel safe, do that. Yeah. So, it's really important.
Yeah. There's a quick question that's come up. Can you explain your bag storage system behind you?
Well, my bag storage system in here.
The bags.
Oh, the bags.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Right. Well, yes, I've got 80, 120, 180.
So sandpaper.
40 abrasives. I'll let you have a look inside. And on the top, 320, 400. And then inside, I've got a couple of bits. I've got my calipers on there. And then in here, over on the left side, I don't know if you can see this.
Yep.
But I have got permanently locked in there. I've got my, on the top, it's an Iwata Neo airbrush. And I've got my compressor. So my compressor stays in there, even when it's on and running, when I'm airbrushing. So it's self-contained. It's out of the way. It's one less thing to trip over. It's not getting covered in dirt and dust. And then on the top here is, if I get this out, this is a special sensor finder that's been made for me. So again, using a traditional sensor finder where you'd use a pencil is no
good work.
So I can use this. This will open and close. So let's just say I've got a bowl that big.
Yeah.
I'd lock it onto the sides of the bowl. This comes up, gets locked in, and this will handle any size bowl up to about 17, 18 inches. And then you've got a little hole there, and I put a brad hole through there, give it a smack, and that's my centre point marked. So
That's brilliant.
That for me. So it's a tactile centre finder.
That's brilliant. I could do all those for me, and I can see what I'm doing in theory. But that makes it right every time. Whereas,
yeah, and for me, you know, it's repeatability and reliability and, you know, efficiency, because, you know, I am a professional wood turner, and like Colin said this morning, who was trained as a production turner, you know, speed and efficiency is of the.
Sorry about this. That's an international number. I'm not answering that.
Yeah, scam.
Scam, yeah.
So,
I'm not ringing it back, that's for sure.
As soon as you know, I've got the job finished, I can get it out, and if it's a commission, I can get it out and I get paid, and if it's to go to the gallery, I can get it out and it's exhibited.
Sorry, I've got to ask, on the door that you just closed, there are several faces, sort of quadrants. Those.
Right. Okay. So they're cold jaws or button jaws, and that's another.
Oh, right.
On the chuck here, I've got a set of 100mm C jaws, Axminster chuck. So I can remove those, and again, these are sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I can mount those on here, and then they'll expand.
So you get a bigger workpiece in.
Yeah, I can reverse mount a pole and tidy up the foot on the bottom if I've done a spigot. You know, I can tidy the bottom up, or if I want to remove it completely, and it'll hold it. So yeah, the rubber bungs can move to different positions, and also they will scroll in and out. So very, very useful. You can't go as tight with grip as you would with a normal set of jaws. So less is more, but it's like Conway says, you know, just gentle cuts when you're finishing off. The box he did this morning, you know, just nice and gentle, just to tidy up the bottom. So yeah, I mean, it's, you know, my workshop, it's cabinets. I was in here, so it's this. Opposite me is wall-mounted cupboards. Opposite me, and at the far end, and then I've got base units all the way around, and I've got another unit that's freestanding that's got my Tormek sharpening system on. So the drawers hold all the jigs.
Has it taken you a while to get it to the state where you think this is the most efficient I can get it?
Yeah, I don't think I'm there yet still, but it took me and my son, and bear in mind he'd never done anything like this before. It took me and Charlie 2 weeks in extremely cold weather. There was still 6 inches of snow on the floor outside, and because we just moved in before we started every day, we had to pull everything out and then start the cabinet build. 2 weeks. It took us 2 weeks to get all the cabinets on the wall and on the floor and mounted. So again, I'm sure a sighted kitchen fitter or joiners, you know, would have taken, gosh, you know, days. But I think that 2 weeks for a blind guy and a 20-year-old lad who'd never done it before, who's a musician, a trained musician. Yeah, it was 2 weeks after moving in, and then it was starting to put stuff away, and I think, yeah, I was about 4 weeks after moving in. Was it, Nicola? About 4 weeks after moving in, I started working again.
Yeah. That must have been a nice thing to happen. I can't think of the right words, but sort of a cathartic thing, so you can go back to working where I assume when you were moving from place to place, you couldn't do the woodwork either.
No, everything was in storage. I didn't,
Yeah.
because I had to pack up my old workshop in September of last year. So we've got September, October, November, December, January, 5 months, well, February, 6 months without any turning. So yeah, I wasn't earning for 6 months. And also because of the pandemic, cancelling a lot of demos that had been booked to do, but all the Axminster stores, again, they were all cancelled and Woodturner clubs. 6 months, 8 months, nearly a year without any income. So it was great. It was very cathartic to get in here, start turning again. And it only took me a couple of days to get the muscle memory back and all the imagery. And because I'd put everything away in the workshop myself, I had
where it was.
that memory map of where everything was again. And no, it's been great. And I spend most of my week in here. And, you know, I put in full days. It's not like, you know, I work for myself so I can be a bit glib. You know, I'm in here 8:30 at the latest in the morning, and I'm turning until 4:30, 5 o'clock, you know, with a quick break for lunch. So I'm putting the hours in, and it's paying off.
I bought a shed, I took it home, and I erected it. I bought a shed, I took it home, I'd selected it. I bought a shed, I bought a shed, I bought a shed. I followed the instructions, studied all the plans, worked day and night to get it right with blisters on my hands. And when I put the roof on and finished off the floor, I knew inside my heart of hearts I'd be ignorant no more. I heard a note inside my shed, I suspected it. I felt a note inside my shed, I detected it. I was so scared of what he said that I rejected it. He said, forget about the tarot, the I Ching and the runes. Get down your garden centre on a Sunday afternoon. Go past the cafeteria, past all the flower beds. If you're searching for enlightenment, get straight for the sheds. And so we lived inside our shed, and we respected it. I taught him, and he taught me, and we perfected it. And all because I bought a shed.